There's a kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't cure. And there's a kind of wakefulness that has nothing to do with energy. Some people don't struggle to nap because they're not tired. They struggle because their mind doesn't know how to let go. On the surface, they look fine, alert, functional, even productive. They sit on the couch in the afternoon, phone in hand, saying, "I'll just rest my eyes." 10 minutes later, their eyes are still open. The room is quiet. Their body feels heavy, but their mind keeps pacing. What people see is discipline, high standards, a strong work ethic. What they don't see is the tension in the jaw, the shallow breathing, the constant background hum of thought that never fully shuts off. You've probably met someone like this. They say things like, "I wish I could nap." They laugh it off. They turn it into a personality trait. Maybe you are someone like this. Because for some people, napping doesn't feel like rest. It feels like vulnerability. And that's where this story really begins. Most of us are taught that sleep is natural, automatic, something the body just does when it's tired enough. But psychologically, sleep, especially napping, requires something deeper than fatigue. It requires permission. Permission to stop scanning. Permission to stop performing. Permission to not be useful for a while. And for some nervous systems, that permission was never granted. Think of the mind like a guard on duty, a watchtower, always scanning the horizon. For people who can't nap, that guard never clocks out. Even when the body lies down, the mind stays upright, alert, listening. This guard exists to protect you, but it also traps you. Psychologically, this is often linked to hypervigilance, a state where the brain stays on high alert, even when there's no immediate danger. And it's far more common than we admit, especially among people who grew up having to be aware of moods, of consequences, of sudden changes in the room. If you learned early on that rest made you vulnerable, your brain didn't forget that lesson. So now, years later, when your body asks for a nap, your mind responds with tension, not because you're broken, but because you adapted. Here's the paradox. The people who struggle the most to nap are often the same people who are incredibly self-reliant. They're used to holding things together, used to staying on, used to being the one who notices everything. And naps require the opposite of that. A nap asks you to disappear for a moment, to loosen your grip, to trust that nothing will fall apart if you're gone for 20 minutes. For some minds, that feels unsafe. So instead of drifting off, thoughts begin to line up. Did I reply to that message? What if I forget something later? I should probably get up and do something productive. What if I waste time? What if I fall too deep asleep and lose control? And just like that, rest becomes another performance you can't quite get right. Here's something most people don't realize. Difficulty napping isn't always about sleep. It's about control. Napping removes structure. There's no clear start or end, no checklist, no measurable output. For people who learn to feel safe through structure, that ambiguity can feel threatening. So the brain stays awake, not to punish you, but to protect you from uncertainty. This is often tied to cognitive overcontrol, a pattern where the mind prioritizes regulation, planning, and self-monitoring over spontaneity and rest. And again, this didn't come from nowhere. It often starts early. Maybe rest was conditional. You could relax only after everything was done, only if you earned it, only if no one needed you. Or maybe quiet moments were unpredictable. Calm didn't always mean safe. Sometimes it meant waiting for the next disruption. So your nervous system learned. Stillness is suspicious. Fast forward to adulthood. You're finally allowed to rest. No one is watching. No one is demanding anything. But your body doesn't believe that yet. So you lie down, close your eyes, and your mind keeps watch. Let me pause here and ask you something, not as a diagnosis, just as a reflection. When you try to nap, is it your body that won't rest? Or your mind that won't let go? Because those are very different struggles, and they point to very different needs. Some people can nap anywhere, on buses, on couches, in noisy rooms. Others need perfect conditions, darkness, silence, control, and even then, nothing happens. That difference isn't about toughness or weakness. It's about what your nervous system learned to prioritize. For many non-nappers, alertness became an identity. I'm just not someone who sleeps during the day. I function better without naps. I don't like feeling groggy. But underneath those statements is often a quieter truth. Letting go feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels unsafe. Here's where it gets interesting. Many people who can't nap are also emotionally self-contained. They don't like relying on others. They handle stress internally. They're good at pushing through. Psychologically, this aligns with emotional suppression, not in a dramatic way, but in a subtle, socially rewarded way. You don't fall apart. You don't complain. You don't rest publicly. You endure. And napping, strangely enough, violates that internal rule. It's visible rest, unproductive rest, rest without justification. So the body resists, not because it doesn't need it, but because it's not used to being allowed it. Let's gently complicate this a bit. Not being able to nap isn't always bad. For some people, it's neutral. For others, it's functional. But it becomes a psychological signal when the desire to rest is there, and the capacity is not. When you feel tired but can't power down. When rest becomes frustrating instead of restorative. That's when it's worth listening. Because the cost shows up quietly. Chronic tension, irritability, difficulty switching off at night, feeling wired but tired. Over time, the nervous system forgets how to downshift, and life starts to feel like one long afternoon where you're never quite allowed to stop. Here's a question that often changes how people see this. What if your inability to nap isn't a failure of rest, but a success of survival? Your system learned to stay alert because it had to. That skill helped you once. But skills that save us early can exhaust us later. And the body doesn't automatically update its software. It needs signals, safety cues, repetition. This is why telling yourself to just relax never works. Relaxation isn't a command. It's a consequence of feeling safe enough. And safety isn't logical. It's physiological. You can understand all of this intellectually and still not be able to nap. That's normal, because this isn't about insight. It's about regulation. Your mind isn't stubborn. It's protective, and protection doesn't turn off just because the calendar changed. Midway through this, I want to ask you something that might feel uncomfortable, but honest. If you could nap easily, what would you be afraid of losing? Momentum? Control? Awareness? Your edge? For many people, exhaustion has become familiar, even comforting. Rest, on the other hand, feels like stepping into the unknown, and the brain prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar peace. Here's another subtle layer. Some people associate naps with guilt, not consciously, but emotionally. Rest triggers an internal voice that says, "You could be doing more. You haven't earned this. Don't get lazy." That voice didn't originate with you. It's usually an echo. And every time you try to nap, that echo gets louder. So you get up, check your phone, find something productive to do, and the cycle continues. Let's be clear about something important. This isn't about forcing yourself to nap. Not everyone needs to nap. And not being able to nap isn't a moral flaw. The psychology here isn't about fixing a habit. It's about understanding a pattern, because once you understand it, you stop fighting yourself. And when the fight ends, the nervous system finally has a chance to soften. Sometimes the most powerful shift is realizing, I'm not bad at resting. I'm just very good at staying alert. That reframing alone can reduce pressure, and pressure is the enemy of rest. Let me offer a quiet truth. People who can't nap are often deeply responsible. They hold invisible weight. They think ahead. They anticipate needs. And naps require you to drop that weight temporarily, to trust that the world won't collapse in your absence. That trust takes time, not willpower, not discipline, time, safety, repeated, and sometimes permission, spoken or unspoken. Here's a gentle experiment, not a rule. Instead of trying to nap, try to pause. No goal, no expectation of sleep. Just lying down and telling your body, you don't have to do anything right now. If sleep comes, fine. If it doesn't, also fine. Because the moment sleep becomes the goal, the mind re-engages. And we're not trying to win at rest. We're trying to befriend it. Another question worth sitting with. When was the last time you rested without explaining yourself? No justification. No productivity framing. No, I deserve this because, just rest. Because you're human. For many people who can't nap, that question lands harder than expected. And that's okay. Awareness is the first loosening. Now, here's the part most people don't talk about. Learning to rest can feel like grief. Grief for the years you had to stay alert. For the version of you that couldn't afford to be tired. For the child who learned early that staying awake was safer. If that resonates, you're not imagining it. The body remembers, and it deserves patience, not correction. As we get closer to the end, I want to leave you with something grounding. You don't need to become someone who naps effortlessly on a sunny couch. You don't need to change your identity. The goal isn't to nap. The goal is to expand your capacity for ease. Sometimes that starts with noticing when you're tense. Sometimes it starts with a deeper breath. Sometimes it starts with not judging yourself for staying awake. Because judgment tightens the system, and softness opens it. Let me ask you one final reflective question. This one matters. If your body trusted that rest was safe, what would change in your life? Not immediately, but slowly. What would feel lighter? Hold that question. You don't need an answer today. Just let it exist. Because curiosity is gentler than force. And gentleness is where real rest begins. If this resonated with you, here's something I'd genuinely love to hear from you. Not as an algorithm trick, but as a human moment. When you try to nap, what usually stops you first? Racing thoughts, guilt, or restlessness in the body. Just one word is enough. Reading those patterns tells a bigger story than you might think. And if you're curious about the deeper psychology of rest, identity, and the invisible habits that shape how we live inside our minds, there's a lot more to explore. This is just one quiet doorway, and you're already standing in it.